This episode of Sewing Out Loud is brought to you by the Made to Measure Leggings class from SewHere.com. This online class brings ZD right into your sewing room to show you how to measure, draft, and construct a pair of leggings based on your personal measurements. Go to SewHere.com/leggings to find out more and get access to all the videos and course materials immediately. That's SewHere.com/leggings.
Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of ZD Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, ZD and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
And I'm ZD Donahue.
And today we are going to talk to you about how to clean your sewing machine. And we did a podcast about, should you or should you not service your sewing machine? And we made the distinction between home maintenance and then what can go on in a sewing machine shop, And so I think we want to dive in a little bit into, okay, you're at home, your sewing machine's working fine. It's not dead or anything. What should you be doing to it, right?
And here's the thing.
Routinely.
It should be working fine.
That's right.
You should be cleaning it before it doesn't work
That's right.
fine. Or you want to clean it before the crud and dirt and whatever buildup makes it not work fine.
Well, okay,
Right.
and you said, you were like, let's start off this podcast with why we clean our sewing machine.
Why do we clean the sewing machine?
And I want people to know, you'll look at your sewing machine and it can be covered in fuzz and stuff, and it's not just an aesthetic thing.
Right.
Right?
Well, and I think this is with anything. Most of the things you have in your life need to be kept clean to work.
What?
And if you're not doing that, you're probably, the
have some
lifetime
problems.
of your things are not lasting.
That's
right.
Like your car and your teeth.
Right.
And
You wash the debris off your car so the paint job stays nice.
There we
Things
go.
like that.
Yeah.
Just simple things. You do have to put air in your tires so that they stay up. Just the simple things that you have to do yourself.
Yeah, so we clean our machines basically in order to keep them in tip-top shape.
Right.
And the outside of your machine, I think about how I'm not a car person, right? Like, as in, I don't care what kind of car I drive.
Right.
I want it to be safe.
Right. You
And-
want it to start.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, I could care less,
Right.
I'm not somebody who is passionate about cars. And so the outside of my car doesn't matter that much to me. Okay. Like, I want to keep it in good working order, but I don't
Right.
care if it's blue or if it's silver or whatever,
Right.
The outside of your sewing machine is part of your tool.
That's
It's right. Like, it's a part that needs
Yes.
to be kept in good working order.
Well, you want it clean.
Uh-huh.
Free of any debris because you're going to put your next project on it. The other thing you want to do, and this is maintenance, but maybe not exactly cleaning, is you want to protect your sewing machine.
Yeah.
You
Talk about this a
don't
little bit,
don't
yeah.
want to scar up the
Mhm.
face or the bed of your sewing machine.
Mhm.
You want to keep everything as smooth as possible.
Because even if you let's say you've got it, whatever, say you've got a plastic machine and you ding it somewhere, and
Right.
even if it's over on the side of the machine,
Right.
like on your right side, if you've got some big tulle skirt you're working with, it can get snagged over
And that's why
there.
machines are smooth.
That's why they're
one reason they
smooth.
sort of make them smooth and round the edges and everything so that things don't get caught in them. And one of my rules, wasn't it, Mallory, whenever I taught a guide class was I don't like you using big scissors at the machine.
That's right.
I liked the little 4-inch scissors or the snips. Big scissors make big scars on machines.
Yeah, and I've seen people right to the right of their needle. It's like they put their scissors
Right.
down, and there is a gouge, man.
Well, and I've
and it
also
can
seen
snag
people
things.
ruin their screens.
Oh yeah. Or
If
their
there's a
light bulbs.
computer screen.
Yeah, if you are worried about magnets near your machines, okay, most newer machines, that's not going to matter.
Right.
You need to
Right.
check with your dealer and everything, but like on this Destiny we have right here, it's fine.
Yeah,
for us
big
to put
clunky scissors are probably more of a hazard
Yes.
than a magnet.
I see so
Yes.
much more concern over magnets
Right,
than
I
I
do
see
too.
over the big clunky
And I've
scissors.
seen much more expensive repairs over big clunky scissors
Yep.
then didn't we have somebody that got mad at me when I said that one time? And then, oh yeah, she
broke her light. Yeah,
she broke a light that
That-
was very, very expensive at the time.
I believe that story's been
Right.
told on this.
I do think we told it, but she really was offended by me saying, I don't think it's safe to do this. One of my suggestions is everyone uses a small pair of clips or scissors if they're, and she just really sort of got nasty with me right there in front of everyone. And I said, oh, it's your choice.
Right.
And she came in about a month later with like a $150 light injury.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so the outside of your machine is just as important, and let's just start there. Cleaning,
Right.
Something that might seem cosmetic. So before you clean your machine, you should unthread it.
Yes.
Okay. How do I just take my spool and
do
pull
you,
it
but
backwards?
do you know one reason to unthread it, like even before you wipe it off or anything, is because you can wick moisture into the area through your thread.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't want to get your thread wet
So
or
if
anything
I'm
either,
wiping my
right?
machine off with a damp
Uh-huh.
cloth and I accidentally get that thread wet or something, it can actually wick
Hey,
the moisture into my mechanism.
I was also trying to set you up for
Oh.
a teachable moment here. When I unthread my machine?
Yes.
Do I
What
just
do you do?
Do I just take this top spool of thread and just pull it backwards and take out the
Well,
whole?
if you do, I'll have to beat you.
That's right.
Yeah.
ZD
That deserves a flogging.
ZD says this is part of my religion. Is what he says.
So yes,
How do you unthread your
You
machine?
need to basically clip your your thread between the spool and the first guide, right?
Yep.
And then take it out of the needle by itself, right?
Mhm.
Do not, when people say pull the thread down through the machine, don't pull it through the needle. Unthread the needle. Otherwise, you're going to bend your needle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you've got your presser foot up, so
Right.
the tension's released.
You've
That
got your
is important.
tensions released and you're unthreaded, right? And you pull it down through,
Yeah,
the
like
needle
in-
area.
yeah, in
right?
the direction you
last
would have
needle
threaded.
guide
In fact,
should be coming down through the last needle
you
guide.
could take your needle out before you do that, and then you wouldn't
That's
even
right.
have a problem.
Then you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, so and you take that needle out, and if you can't remember the last time you changed the needle,
Throw it away.
throw it away in your
Or
sharps
hang a
container.
picture with
Hang
it.
a picture with it. Okay.
We do that a lot. I'm
I-
looking at a bunch right now.
Our entire sewing machine or sewing studio walls are like covered in sewing machine needles, hanging things up.
hanging things up and on the
So-
bulletin boards and everything else.
Yeah. So if you can't remember, just throw it away. Just if you
Or
can
find another use for it. Recycle
Yes.
it in another instance where the sharpness of it is not that important.
That's right.
And the straightness.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's probably it probably has a ding in it. It's probably bent and it's probably dull.
Okay, take your presser foot off too. And if you've got on many of the more modern machines, they have this shank and the snap
When
on.
it's a snap-on foot, that will come off also.
Yeah, take that all off, okay?
Take off as much as you can. If you cannot remember how to get it back on, why don't you take a picture at
Yeah.
each step you do?
And
If
the
it's,
reason-
or if you don't think it's in your manual or you'll get confused, take a picture or a video of you taking it apart.
Okay, and the reason to do this is not just so that it's like easier. We'll talk about cleaning the bobbin area later. It's not just for that, but it's so that you can clean those parts. So take a look at your presser
Right.
foot. If this is a new concept to you, which I remember the first time I noticed that like my presser foot was dirty.
Right.
Okay, I was like, oh my gosh, there's all this lint on my presser foot, and who knows what I was
Or
doing.
sometimes you can get, you'll get a buildup on the bottom of a
Yeah,
foot.
that's what I
Right,
mean.
Right.
That's
Oh,
what-
okay,
yeah,
yeah. Well, sometimes you'll get lint
on the top, too.
You'll get lint in the little part that's supposed to be movable.
Uh-huh.
Lint will build up, and people will say, "Well, my machine's not being right." And sometimes I have taken off the presser foot.
Yeah.
Right. Taken it maybe like a straight pin or something. Put it in like that little where it's supposed to be moving. It does move, and I get like a wad
Got
of
some crap
this,
out of it.
this packed lint out.
So you can brush that off. You got a
Right.
stiff bristled brush. Okay, we're gonna post links to all of our favorite machine cleaning tools.
Right.
Okay, in the show notes, just so you know. But if you can use a brush to kind of brush that presser foot,
Okay,
just
and
clean
one of
that stuff.
one of my favorite brushes, that little brush that comes with your machine, has never satisfied me. I am really happy with using like a paintbrush.
Uh-huh.
Like not like a paintbrush to paint your house, but
Right.
like, say if you oil paint or
Yeah.
do a small hand
Yeah,
paintbrush. I've even used makeup brushes. Sometimes they'll
little-
be really good.
That little brush, it's good for a couple little things, but it's
A lot of times it's a needle holder. Don't throw it away.
Yeah,
you
you
might
want-
use it.
you want a bigger one too.
Yeah.
So clean that presser foot, clean your shank and everything like that, and then unthread your bobbin, which is done safely in the way you think it is. I guess I don't know if somebody's unthreading their bobbin wrong. I guess it could happen. But
I'm sure it can.
I'm sure it
Yeah.
can too. So undo that bobbin, and then let's just turn your machine off.
Unplug
Now.
your machine.
You're supposed to unplug
no,
your machine.
unplug it. Don't turn it off. Unplug it. Yes.
Turn it off and unplug it.
Okay.
Okay. And then
And have removed your embroidery unit if there's one.
And then what we do is we take a paper towel and we spray it with some window cleaner,
Right.
so it's lightly damp. And then we clean off our machine. Now, we're going to do a separate episode on sergers. If there's a ton of lint on my machine to begin with, I'll brush the machine or vacuum the outside
Right,
of the machine
right.
first.
Immediately. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Before doing
Right.
the damp cloth. And when
Right.
I say damp, I just mean the lightest of damp.
So what we do is we have a spray bottle with some cleaners, so surface cleaner or,
Yeah.
or something like a window cleaner, right? That has some sort of, a small amount of,
ammonia in it.
well,
Or
what I want to say.
surfactant.
Yeah, something that's surfactant like,
Yeah.
right? Some sort of cleaning, and we lightly spray the paper towel.
Right.
Okay.
So your machine's all put together right now. And this is important stuff.
Right.
I know it seems like, oh, this is just like polishing my machine or something, but it's not. It's keeping all that stuff that's on top of your machine right now that's visible could go into invisible places
Right.
or onto your next project.
And another thing you might want to do here too is depending on how your machine is set up and what it's sitting on or what type of furniture it's in, is lift the machine and look under it
Amen.
because you're going to have some dust bunnies, everybody.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
going to be
go
some stuff under
clean
there.
it up.
There's going to be like a whole little community under there.
I'm trying to really keep my mouth shut about sergers, but like the dust.
Surgers just make stuff.
The dust
Yes.
visualization is so strong.
Right.
Anyway, okay, next episode. All right, so you your surface. That's great. That's a great tip, Mom. Your knee lift. If you got,
And clean your furniture too.
yeah, clean your furniture, clean that surface. Your knee lift, take that out,
Right.
and then we had you unplug your machine. You also might have a foot pedal
Yes.
that you can kind of, even without taking it apart, vacuum
Yes.
that foot
That
pedal.
foot pedal the static in it sometimes will just suck up lint. And the other thing is anytime lint goes into something, it takes oil away from something else.
Right.
So if there's supposed to be an oil on part of a mechanism and lint goes in there, the lint will suck the oil away from the part of the mechanism that needs it.
And I will tell you, don't want to go too far into what happens in a service department because we talked about that in that other episode.
You mean when the roaches come out of the foot
Well,
pedal?
no,
Oh.
not that particular thing. But like, if you're worried about your machine, taking a long time in the service department, if it's clean on the outside, it's going to take the tech less time.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I
because the
wanted to
tech
bring
has
up.
to basically, unearth
Yeah,
the
no,
parts if it's and we've had them come in where literally the lint is like stalactites in the machine.
that's right. So keep it. This could expedite how fast how long it takes for your machine to get serviced. Because I know, I mean, I guess I don't want to speak for Daniel, but if he got a machine in and they came in on the same day and he was at the end of a day or something,
Right. He picked the
you
clean
pick
one.
the clean one that
Right.
you know is going to take less time. Then you work on the other one next,
Okay.
right?
Anecdote.
Anecdote alert.
If your machine or the cover of your machine or any part of your machine had been someplace where maybe your dog was peeing on it, you need to clean that off before you take it to somebody else. And you need to clean it off for yourself. And I'm sorry, your dog shouldn't be peeing on your machine. So figure out how to not let your dog pee on part of your machine.
None of our listeners would ever
I don't.
bring in their
I'm telling you this
machine.
so you can tell your
to us.
untidy friends.
Okay.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, this happens. Okay. And people think it doesn't have anything to do with the function of their machine, and
Well,
it does.
Yeah, that made me pretty sad when that happened. I was like, why did this person think it was okay
To
to
bring that to
their
us.
dog pee
And
and
they
put
even
it?
told us,
Yeah,
oh,
no,
my
put
dog's
it
been peeing on this.
my
I'm like,
counter.
really?
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move on, Mom. Okay, so you're
Well, we didn't have to guess what it was anyway.
that's good.
Yeah.
So you've cleaned the outside of your machine. Any parts you're taking off like that, you can clean them. You can feel like a little tinker.
And
Right.
make sure you have a bowl next to you or a parts bowl or something where you're keeping those parts. Because when you lose them or can't find them, you'll go out of your mind.
Okay, I mean, we haven't even really taken any like parts off, right?
Well, even presser feet,
Yes,
and
true,
the screw.
true.
If you lose the screw to your,
Right.
your needle bar or something, you'll go out of your mind trying to find it.
So, in the upper area of your machine, I mean, I'm looking at one of the most technologically advanced home sewing machines right now, the Destiny. And, you probably shouldn't take it apart unless you know what you're doing here.
And it's not, even when you know what you're doing,
Yep.
it is not that easy to take apart.
Now, I think an adventurous person might take off that
The light
the
cover or
left
something.
cover. The screws are even though
But-
hidden from you.
Well, here's the other part of taking apart the more modern machines.
Yes.
So there are little clips that
Mhm.
hold it together on the inside.
Mhm.
And if you do not know, like how to pull this part off or how it's supposed to, become released from the rest of the body, you can actually break those off.
Yeah, no, and that sucks.
And then sometimes it's a little clip that just screws in and can be replaced. Sometimes it's part of the molded part and it's very expensive, very difficult to replace.
Right. So if you've got one of those more technologically advanced machines, I wouldn't recommend taking that apart. If you have one where it's easy to do or the door opens,
Right.
like on some of the
right.
older
Oh,
ones,
absolutely.
just open that. But so this is the area right above your needle, okay, over on that left-hand side. If you can't open it, getting one of those mini vacuum attachment kits.
Best thing. Not a mini vacuum.
Okay.
It has to be an attachment. So what you have is you wind up with little mini tools to get in your machine, but it's sucking off of a big, huge vacuum because the little bitty mini vacuums just really don't have enough power.
Yeah, so even if I didn't take any of the shell off of this Baby Lock Destiny here, I could kind of angle that brush upward. I could move my hand wheel so that the needle bar comes down. That's the part that moves the needle up and down, and I could bring that down. I could kind of vacuum that, etc. So you can get rid of the lint. And if you're cleaning the machines outside often.
Have you mentioned taking off the throat plate yet?
No, we're
Okay.
not to the bottom
All
yet.
right.
No. So if you're doing that top part, but if you are keeping that clear of lint and stuff in the first place, that can be really helpful.
Right.
Some of that stuff does come from the outside.
And if you have anything on your machine that is, say you put tape on your machine and there's any adhesive left on it or anything, okay, that needs to come off. Do not use acetone. I know you're going to say that's what works, but it will also sometimes scar the finish on plastic. Alcohol usually doesn't. It may take a little bit more, rubbing effort or elbow grease, so to speak. But that is another thing that can help take off adhesive also.
Alcohol's our friend.
Well, another thing that can help take off adhesive is something that's kind of oily.
Yeah.
So you could take like a little bit of mineral oil on your finger and rub it on there, and it would loosen up that adhesive. Then wipe that off with, this whatever solvent or
Right.
solution you're using. Acetone cleans a lot of things. I like acetone. I use acetone for other things. I tend not to keep it in my sewing room because it dissolves things also. And one of the things it will dissolve is plastic. It will also dissolve polyester.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you can literally spill acetone on a piece of fabric and it
And
will
go away.
crumple up. Yeah.
So if you can get that casing off, we're going to talk about the top part,
Right.
and then we're going to take a break and talk about the bottom part,
Okay.
because I think it's a little bit more intensive too. If you can take that top part off and expose that stuff above your needle, you might see things like thread trash up there.
Right.
In your take-up lever.
Right.
You brush and suck,
Right.
right? Now,
brush towards, your sucking mechanism.
this will come up in the bobbin cleaning area, but you might have some kind of brush, okay, up in your upper thread carriage, upper
Right.
thread delivery system that is like supposed to be there.
Yes, because it's actually like a guide.
Yes. It sort of smooths the thread, and I'm forgetting.
It guides it through.
Yeah,
it smooths and guides it
And
through.
I think I've heard them also called like pre-tensioners.
Yes,
that include
you'll see
this.
them pre-tension. Absolutely.
If you see a furry thing up there and it's like gray
And it seems like it's attached.
and it's really hard to get
Yeah.
out, okay, it might be.
It might belong there.
Might belong there. I was like, it might be supposed to be there. Belong. Okay.
That too. That too.
It might belong there. It might be that it is supposed to be there. So do be aware of that. But canned air. Do we use canned air, Mom?
Never.
Never.
I never use it. I have seen we actually used to use it when like it came out like for computers and everything and all that. And we were using it for a while, and we started getting machines coming in that were rusty. Like we could see like
Yeah.
where they had corroded in places, and then we started asking people, "How do you clean machine? What do you? Well, I do this and I use canned air because it's there with my computer,
Yeah.
And we just noticed that people were having trouble. The other thing is, if you're in sewing like in a laundry room or someplace that's real damp, that's not really good for your machine either.
Right. So the canned air can
Yeah.
have moisture in there. You don't want to be in a high moisture area. And we get like humid here in Missouri.
Right.
And it's important for our sewing area to be somewhat temperature controlled.
Right.
For our fabric, for our machines.
We
for all
have
sorts of
actually,
things.
we know of machines that won't work if it's too humid or too hot.
Right.
I mean, especially if they're, computerized
And,
or
yeah,
electronic in any
Mostly
way.
older models,
Right.
like that weren't as hardy as the newer
Right.
ones. So cleaning that upper area, really all you want to be doing up there is brushing and sucking. So you got your little makeup brush, you got your vacuum attachment kit. I won't use the vacuum attachment kit. I'll just use a hose and brush into the hose. Like the hose is just sitting there, right, like a receptacle. That's how you taught me
Right.
to do it,
Right.
and how we would have a shop vac
Right.
at the shop
Right.
that would be there. And then oiling up there. You want to talk a little bit about sewing machine oil?
Well, you want sewing machine oil.
Yeah.
Preferably you want a lightweight sewing machine oil, and I would ask my dealer.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The kind that's like on the card at the Joann's store or wherever, you might find other sewing notions.
Yeah.
I mean, Hobby Lobby, whatever. It might not be the quality that your sewing machine dealer wants you to use, and they will usually have some that they sell.
And we would sell it, and it was that big old,
Well, it
bottle
will
for like
last you forever.
$3.50. Yeah.
And
it was
here's the
cheap.
deal. What we used to sell, we used to tell people, now this will turn color and it doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
Because it didn't have preservatives in it.
Mhm.
Okay. Because we tried to find an oil that did not have preservatives in it.
And this is where you kind of need to be careful and ask the
It's-
dealer, because
yes.
there are some different types of lubricants that we're
Right.
about.
Yeah. You probably don't want like WD-40 because you've got a propellant. You don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
Okay. Something like that. So, be careful with this oil. You
Right.
don't want to get it on your circuit boards, So don't think that if there's a hole over like, towards the left-hand side of your machine, oh, that must be an oiling hole. It's probably not. It's probably where you're supposed to like release or something.
That's right.
The
That's right.
cover of the machine. So don't oil. Just because you think it might look like one, you better be real sure.
We showed people where they could oil.
Right.
When,
And one thing I used to do is I would take a scrap piece of like lint-free fabric,
Uh-huh.
like a cotton, maybe a quilting cotton or something, and I would sometimes put the oil on it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Right.
Okay, so I recommend for those of you who aren't used to oiling things, don't oil directly on your machine.
Right.
Or they do, I'll try to post a link to these. They make oil pens that
Yep.
look like that,
Yeah.
look like a syringe
But you can
almost.
still get too
You can
much
get too
oil
much.
with those.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, or I would tell people, I think you taught me this, of course, to put a little oil on the cotton swab.
Cotton swab.
Yeah, and so the places that we recommend oiling, even if you can't take your machine apart, bring your hand wheel so that it would be like the needles down in the fabric. Put a little bit of oil on that cotton swab and just touch your needle bar a little bit. Just paint it lightly.
Your needle bar is, a metal shaft going through like a metal hole.
Right.
So anytime there's metal to metal, it doesn't hurt to lubricate that.
Yeah,
and that's what you're
lightly.
And that's what you're lubricating.
Yeah,
right.
and then
also the reason I liked the little cotton cloth is you could also sort of clean it with that.
Yeah.
So the oil will dissolve the dirt that's on there, so you can wipe it off too.
Yes. And then I would move the hand wheel up and down a couple times, kind of work it through. If your machine's open and it's unplugged and it's turned off and all that, and you move the hand wheel, you might be able to see just a couple more spots where that needle bar is moving up and down, and there's another sort of like joint that's moving that take-up lever.
Any place you see metal against metal, just try and get a little lubricant there.
Just a little bit, because you're going to get your machine serviced once a year at your dealership too. Okay, so that will...
Well, once a year, depending on how much you sew.
At least once a year, right?
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, so that's the upper part. You can put it back together now, okay, or not. That's the... Mom's messing around with her machine. That's the buttonhole lever.
It looks different from back here.
Yeah, it does. It does. Just you're in a different perspective.
It looked like to me it was down. That's why I touched it. Yes, from here it looks like it's down.
Okay, so we've cleaned the outside. We've cleaned the upper part where your upper thread goes through as much as we can. And now we're going to take a break and come back and talk about bobbins. Hey, ZD, wouldn't it be cool if everyone who listened to this podcast could learn how to make perfectly fitting leggings directly from you, the leggings expert?
Well, yes, Mal. That's why we produce the Made to Measure Leggings class. I teach anyone, no matter their age, ability, or gender, to make perfectly fitting leggings based on their measurements. And if someone is feeling particularly generous, they can make leggings for anyone who they can get to stand still long enough to measure.
You, yes, you can get immediate access to all the videos and course materials in the Made to Measure Leggings class by going to sewhere.com/leggings. This online class allows you to complete the process at your own pace, and you own it forever, so you can rewatch it as many times as you need.
Stop struggling with the leggings that roll down or sag in the wrong places. I'll be your guide as you create leggings that are made especially for you.
No matter what your equipment or skill level, ZD covers everything from measuring, drafting, cutting, and construction on a sewing machine or serger in this class. Go to sewhere.com/leggings and get started today. Sewing out loud. And we're back.
And we're talking about the bobbin area.
And I'm tired. I'm
you feel like you clean
I feel like
the
I've been
machine.
working real hard. Yeah. This is hard work.
It's rough work. It's rough work.
Okay, this is if you're like only cleaning out the bobbin area or something one day, or you do this out of order.
Okay, you need to clean the bobbin area out a lot.
A lot.
Like after every project is what I used to do.
So
not after like every time I hemmed a pair of jeans, but if I made a dress, I cleaned out the bobbin area.
So this is where you really do want to take out the needle and take off the foot and stuff.
Yeah.
It makes it so much easier.
Because you want all the free area under there you can get.
Yeah, and then there are two general sort of types of bobbins. There's the bobbin systems. There's the drop-in, top-loading, whatever you want to call it.
So that's from the top, and a lot of you people will say, yeah, I don't have a bobbin case. Yes, you do, and we're going to tell you about it.
This is ZD's.
Well,
this is
it just kills me when they go, I don't have a bobbin case, and I'm thinking, where did your dealer tell you that? Because, yes, anyway.
Anyway, so you got the top loader, and then you got like the front loader.
Right.
Now, I'm sitting here next to the Baby Lock Accomplish, and it's more of a semi-commercial machine kind of. It has a side loading, which is very
it's still a front loading.
analogous to the front loading.
It's just positioned to the side.
That's
it's still basically it's a hook system.
That's right.
Yes.
So when you're doing this, there are different. Oh, and there are different ways to take off the throat plates. I mean, on the old style Berdinas, there were some of those that like snapped off, and they had the thumb targets and stuff, and all that. This is really where the screws can get crazy.
Have a place to put your screws where they won't get lost. So a little cup, a little bowl.
The Zirkle.
Whatever.
You need a
Zirkle, right?
Yeah, that's a really good thing to have.
No,
nearby.
anytime you have a magnetic pin cushion holder like that.
Yep.
You can put that stuff right on there.
So I'd recommend removing your throat plate, and once again, having your needle out will really help you avoid the pokies.
And you should have a screwdriver that does this that came with your machine. Now, it might not look like a screwdriver. It might be in the shape of a coin.
Yes.
Sometimes it's like a circle and it's got a little, screw.
Nubbin.
Yeah, nubbin screwdriver head like on one side. We also used to sell screwdrivers
Yeah, I'll post a
that you
link.
could grip well
Yeah,
to do this, because sometimes those ones like with a coin are hard to use.
Yeah, so a stubby screwdriver so you can get
Right.
underneath your machine's, needle bar
Because you don't
area.
have the clearance for like a big screwdriver.
Yes, so you've exposed your throat plate. However, on this baby lock, like on most and on many modern top-loading bobbin machines, it's like you have a plastic part that just
Right.
slides off, and then you have a metal part that you can remove.
Right.
And honestly, removing the metal part and putting it back on is not that difficult.
Right.
I would just do both.
Right. So the metal part accommodates the feed dogs.
Right.
And the plastic part generally accommodates the actual drop-in bobbin.
So a tip with this type of throat plate, what can happen is you can drop those screws down in there.
Right?
So you remove the plastic part, but then you unscrew the screws that hold the metal part on. You unscrew.
So do people know how to magnetize their
Well,
screwdriver?
hold
Go
on.
ahead.
Okay, you unscrew those, but you don't take them out of the holes, okay? You just loosen them, and then you lift up
stay
slowly
on the plate.
on the metal part so that they stay on the plate. But yeah, talk about magnetizing.
Okay, so if you have screws you're taking out and you're afraid you're going to lose them, they're tiny, and these screws, the shaft on the screw is what?
Short.
What is it? Not even a half inch. It's like
Right,
a quarter
yeah,
inch or
yes.
something. So they're really tiny. So you make a couple turns and they are out, and you lose control of them.
That's right.
So if you need to magnetize your screwdriver to hold on to those screws, what you need to do is you take the screwdriver head
Uh-huh.
and you just swipe it across your zircle,
Yeah.
right? Or your magnet, or, several times, and then try and pick up like a straight pin with that, and you'll notice that you have magnetized
Right.
your screwdriver. Therefore, it will hold on to the screw head while you're taking it out.
Yeah, so that's very useful in doing that. And if you do have a front-loading bobbin, you might just have like a one-piece throat plate. You won't maybe have the plastic and then the metal.
If you have you mean a front loading?
That's what I
right,
just said.
Right, but you will also have your hook system that pops
Yes,
out.
so we're going to talk about
Right.
that, right. So let's talk about bobbin cases. So we talked about removing the throat plate. Let's talk about bobbin cases. ZD, do top-loading bobbin machines have bobbin cases?
Yes, they do. If you have a bobbin, you have a bobbin case.
Yes.
Okay, and it is removable.
Yes.
Okay, it's switchable. You can put in a different bobbin case. Okay, that is adjusted differently or whatever. Now you must put it back in correctly.
Yes.
You must.
Yes.
And you have an owner's manual, and you're going to refer to it. And usually there's a little notch you have to match up, or something. Now they even paint a little dot on it, I think, in the baby locks.
Yep.
Do they still
Doesn't
do that?
matter. People
Yeah.
still put it in wrong. and that will really mess up your machine.
So
everybody.
what can happen is if you have that, because that bobbin case is made out of a composite like plastic, okay?
Yeah.
So it's not metal like the rotary hook system
Uh-huh.
that you front load. So what happens is if you bring it down with a needle in your needle bar and it is incorrect, you will punch a hole
Right.
into your bobbin case.
Right.
There are people out there sewing with holes in their bobbin
If
cases.
if your thread is shredding or something like that,
Yep.
you have
You
maybe
have probably injured.
you've probably injured your bobbin case
Yes.
somehow. Yeah, you've got some chewed up bobbin case going
now,
on there.
this is not difficult. It's just something that takes attention in
Right.
doing it, and you need to make sure you'll feel it sort of snap in or lay in properly.
Yes.
So it's not that difficult, but people do screw it up.
So when you take out that bobbin case, then you can use your lint removal tool of choice. Is there I kind of look at the mess and decide what to do. Like if there's big chunks, I like to do the cotton swab first.
Yeah, the cotton swab,
and
you just roll it like cotton candy, and it'll come out.
and then I'll do the vacuum, or and
Right. Right.
I kind of poke around.
And the other thing here is
Mhm.
you do where you most of these a lot of these machines will clip your threads.
Yeah, yeah.
So there is that little brush that you're talking about in there.
Yes.
That little brush that you talked about being at the top. There is a little brush in there.
There's a
Okay.
brush on the bobbin case too sometimes.
Yes, that guides that thread to be cut.
That's right.
Okay. So that stays. Now, if you have a little felt pad on your feed dogs, that doesn't.
That's not.
That is
You made that felt
you,
pad.
you accumulated
That's right.
and made your own felt on that pad by not cleaning your machine often enough or by just doing a big
Sure.
project that had a lot of lint involved.
But this will, I mean, I've seen it not packed down so firmly on our machines, but I have seen lint surround the feed dogs on our
We
machines.
have had people come in with a felt pad and say, "Oh my gosh, this fell off of my machine. I need it replaced." And we have to tell them it was dirt.
Yeah.
Oh, you just didn't clean your machine.
If you're having, people would ask what we did during a basic service, and we would say feed dog height adjustment. And the feed dogs can get pushed down, especially on older machines, or if there's all of a sudden an 1/8 of an inch or, even a 1/16 of an inch of dirt covering those, they're not able to come up as
Right.
far, and it can affect the feed of the fabric,
Right.
know.
So when people are complaining about the feed in their machine, I often sometimes think, I wonder how often they clean that.
Yeah, no,
or
it
if
can really-
they've looked at it at all.
That's a good
Right.
that's a good thing to file under the Y. So you're just, once again, down there in the bobbin area, you're just cleaning. Now, with the top loading bobbin case, it's easy to take that bobbin case out. It just should lift out for
Right.
you. It shouldn't be rolling. And when putting that one back, this was a tip that we got from Baby Lock that I thought was really smart. They said to replace the metal part of the throat plate first.
Yes, it helps to position it.
And then you slide that bobbin case
Right.
in, and it can remove some of the
Play.
possibility of
Yes,
error.
It removes some of the play of putting it in because of how you have to put it.
You can't put it in completely
Right.
backwards like that.
Right.
But so because of the height of one of the sides of the bobbin
Right.
case. So putting that back on is good. Now the front loading, this is a little different. I've seen this work differently on different machines on the front loading bobbin, right, Mom? You take out the bobbin case, and that you do that front loading bobbin owner.
You take
every
out
time
right.
you
You
refresh.
take out your bobbin case every time you put it back. So you
Yeah.
take out your bobbin case.
Yes.
And then there's probably going to be two little arms, so to speak, little metal arms
Yeah.
that you can move, and they're holding in, your hook mechanism.
They remind
Okay.
me like of windshield wipers
Yes,
almost.
and they're
'cause it
coming from
swish,
sort of like
swish.
each side, and usually you like press them up, and
Yeah.
they're just in there by friction.
There's
There's
like
no screwing or anything
no,
usually.
no, it's just tension.
It's
tension.
just, they're in there by tension. You just push them up and away from the hook system, which is what has like the spindle in it that the bobbin goes on, the
Uh-huh.
actual.
Yeah,
Okay, and that will literally fall out on you.
yeah, a lot
Now,
of times.
When you do this, your needle height basically should be in its highest position.
yeah, that's
Yes.
very true. Even if you don't have a needle in,
Right.
put
you
that
shouldn't have the
that's-
needle in,
yeah.
but everything should be at its highest position.
So then what would happen a lot is people would come in. I loved feeling like this when we had the store, because people come in and say, "Oh my God, I touched something on my machine and it just fell apart," and all they had done was dislocate those two pieces down the hook system, and I could put them back together, and they just thought that I was just so amazing, right?
Right,
So,
right.
so what's going to come out, what could fall out, and may very well do so, is, do you know the names for the two separate pieces? One is
the hook.
the hook, and one, I don't know, they call that like the hook holder. There's two pieces that come out. And
There's the bobbin case and the hook. What
there's
do
two
you mean?
pieces to the hook. There's a hook, but then there's the piece that kind of like cradles around, like where the needle goes down and stuff. All right, so ZD just got back from one of our machines at the front loading bobbin. So there's the ring part that holds the hook in.
Right.
Now on that machine, the ring part is like kind of attached to the machine. It
Right.
just
You have a little
folds out.
lever
It's-
thing
it's on
you
a
touch
hinge.
and it pops out.
Yeah, so
it's
it's
on a
on a hinge.
spring-loaded hinge.
So you might have one or two pieces come out
Right,
of that
right.
case that completely come away from your machine
Right.
or from that under that bobbin
And
area.
all of this should be in the owner's manual.
yeah, yeah.
So don't hesitate to refer to that.
So you're gonna vacuum and stuff and all that, but also those little pieces that you took out, brush those off.
Yeah, and
Windex those out.
sometimes I will take the end of a straight pen.
Uh-huh.
Because there will be some lint in there from the old oil. Because I
Yeah.
keep it pretty oily down
Yeah.
there. Okay, that actually, oil and lint like turns itself into sort of a solid almost, or
Yeah.
sort of a clay almost, like consistency sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. So I just think, oh, look at there. Maybe I need to get that out of there.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
You can
I
use
mean,
it. You can use a toothpick if you're afraid of
a straight pen
of a
or something
straight
like
pen.
that. Yeah, so check in the machine, look at those things. Now, this is a part we didn't talk about if or when you would oil the drop-in bobbin. The drop-in bobbins don't need oil
They do not require it, and
as badly because they're made of a plastic
Right.
going against a metal.
and generally it will tell you that that you
Uh-huh.
don't have to oil it at all. That's where I take the little wet, oily cloth and I sort of wipe that out in there.
So what? Just to clarify,
Right.
because we'll go back in time a little bit here. You've taken that drop-in bobbin case out. You've exposed. It'll look like a little metal circle.
Looks like a little
underneath
metal,
that.
bowl almost.
And I will just touch it with an oily Q-tip,
Right.
and that's it. Yeah,
Yep.
do not dump oil into that.
If
or
you dump
anything.
oil into that, it probably won't hurt it, but the oil's going to get on your thread.
Right.
It's going to be a mess.
Yeah. So over oiling can cause its own issues.
Right.
Okay, so then we're back to front loading bobbin land or side loading. This is where I would once again just Q-tip those parts where a little oily Q-tip, just swipe in there where metal goes on metal. Now, if you were lucky enough to very consciously take out the parts of your front loading bobbin, you'll be able to easily see how to put these things back together.
Yeah. Sometimes, though, the hooks, if you don't have your needle height
Yes.
all the way up, because the hook system, it looks like a little moon, like a crescent moon, and the crescent is to the left side, right?
That's the right.
Or the right side, yeah, with the hook sort of straight up. You'll see a
Yes.
little sharp hook, and that hook is supposed to be sharp.
Yep, it's supposed to be sharp.
Okay, if it's not, you got a problem. You need to go to your dealer. But it should feel kind of sharp there on the end. It's a little pointy thing.
I've cut myself before.
Yeah. If there's a gouge or something in it, and you've had some trouble again with thread shredding
yeah.
or anything, that might be where your problem is. And that can happen.
It should
If
be
a needle's been jammed down in there, or maybe you broke a needle and you didn't find all of it, and then you started to sew, or damage can happen there.
So it should be smoothed out to a point. So maybe you've moved your hand wheel, because what we would do is we would take the machine apart and we'd kind of angle it back on a block, and we'd oil and we'd move. You move the hand wheel so that you can move the parts
and see the different parts of the mechanism.
That's
yeah.
right. And your machine's unplugged and turned off and all that. So you're cleaning, but now, okay, I want to fit this magical crescent moon shape back in.
That's right.
How do I do this? Putting your needle bar in the highest position should allow you. So what you do is you have that really sharp part up at 12 o'clock.
Yes.
If it's a clock, and you should be able to hold on to the little spindle. It'll look like kind of like a nipple thing that you can place right in the machine, and it should sit smoothly
it should
on there.
sit smooth. You might not hear a click, but you'll feel a fit.
Yes.
You'll feel a fit.
And then that ring, now on one of our machines, that ring's on a hinge, which is pretty convenient.
Which keeps it in the right position. Right.
So this is where we're one place where I see people try to put that in backwards.
Uh-huh.
You'll see what should be at 12 o'clock, it's like a place where the needle can go down.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a C, or like a rectangle with one side out.
It looks like it's been cut out of there.
That's
like
right.
a little notch has been cut out.
So if you can understand, that's where my needle's
Right.
supposed to go down, maybe you won't put it in backwards so that you put a piece of metal where your needle should go.
Or again, take a picture at every
That's
step
right.
while you're taking it apart. Everybody can do this with their phones nowadays.
That's right. So if you put that in gently, then then your little windshield wiper arms
Right.
should come back and hold that in place. And before you put a needle in or anything like that, move your hand wheel.
Right. You want
Yeah.
to you want to hand move and make sure it's moving smooth. And then when you do put your needle in, keep that open and look and slowly bring your needle down and make sure that it's going to clear.
And if you did clean your machine out of desperation, okay,
Mhm.
and you're having some kind of trouble, if you've put everything back together correctly and you put a needle in and it's not clearing that very sharp hook, that's what's called out of time.
Right. It's out of
Okay?
time.
Yeah, we had a really good question about that.
And if you try to sew out of time, and sometimes you can, okay? Sometimes it will form a stitch.
Sure.
Eventually, you will screw up your hook system.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you need to have it fixed.
You need to have that fixed. That is something we don't recommend doing at home. I know that on some machines there's literature and stuff available for that, so that it's out of our hands. Is what I'm
It's
saying.
not my
recommendation.
recommend. It's not my
recommendation.
yeah.
So cleaning the hook
This-
system.
Yes, this is relieving me of all liability.
That's
Do
right.
not try to time your own
We
hook
didn't-
system.
We didn't try to tell you to time your machine. Have tutorials been shared in the Facebook group?
Oh yeah,
Maybe. I don't know.
maybe.
I didn't comment on them. You know,
Yeah.
might work for your machine. I think for an older machine where all that stuff is very accessible, it's doable.
Yes.
you know.
And there are people that have learned to do this
Oh,
on
yeah.
their own or
Yeah.
whatever. There,
It-
yes.
It's not like a superhuman skill,
No.
but, you know, it can cause major issues if done incorrectly, is what, you know,
Mhm.
you'd hate to somehow make your machine unusable, I guess, is.
right.
is our point.
Or cost yourself more money.
So cleaning
Yeah.
out that hook system, I think we mentioned this in our other podcast about should you get your machine serviced, but when you prevent lint from traveling from the hook system, the bobbin area, etc., back into the machine by cleaning it out
That's right.
regularly, you can avoid so many issues.
Right. Now, on some mechanical machines, when you go to the bottom, sometimes you can see a shaft. Like if you turn it
Yeah.
upside down.
Uh-huh.
Okay. This would probably be older machines, but if you turn the machine, you will see the actual shaft moving, and it will need to be cleaned too.
Right.
Okay. And again, it will need to be oiled.
Right. So if you can see that shaft, that's really cool.
Right.
You know, so that you can clean and oil
It's
it.
basically like the crankshaft of an automobile, if anybody can relate.
Yeah, and so it's moving the hook system,
Right.
Is what it's doing.
So it's going from the hand wheel or flywheel.
Uh-huh.
That could be called either thing, and it's transferring the movement, okay,
Yes.
over to the other side of the machine.
Yes. So that shaft, that's where we had this lovely customer, love her to death, but she didn't get her machine serviced for like 10 years, and her lower shaft was frozen solid.
And this is when Mallory says, no matter what, get your machine serviced once a year. This comes in because if your machine sits, it may also not work.
Yeah. So she'd been using it, I believe, and just never gotten it serviced. 10 years, okay. Our service, I think, in the 10 years had gone from like $74.95 to $84.95 or something like that. And her repair bill to get her machine working again was like $845.
Ooh.
It was
Yeah.
it was a really expensive part.
Right.
It wasn't
Right.
there was the labor
Right.
too, but it was a really expensive lower shaft that had been absolutely ruined by not having it cleaned.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it could have been prevented by being cleaned and oiled.
Right.
Like that's
Right.
just the
That
gospel
was the
truth.
only thing that we. So not only did she not have it serviced, she was not cleaning and oiling.
Well, and you know, I guess I can't say for sure how much that would have prevented this, but I think it could have prevented it some.
Right.
Because it was that stuff down in
Well,
the hook.
she would have also noticed on cleaning that maybe there was a problem.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay,
that's true,
things
too.
weren't moving as well. Oh,
Well-
maybe I should take it in.
And so I explained to her, I was like, well, you haven't gotten it serviced for 10 years, and now you're paying basically what you would have paid.
Right,
for
once
10
a year.
years.
Mhm.
But also, I mean, this isn't something I would recommend, but what if she'd gotten it serviced every 2 years?
Well, yeah.
You know?
Well, and maybe she could have gotten it serviced every 18 months. I don't know.
That's
You
that's
know,
what I'm saying.
right,
She
right.
could while I tried to assuage
Right.
her because she wasn't upset with us, you know, but she was upset with obviously that amount of money is like not pocket change.
It's
you
just
know?
not something you expect.
And she loved to sew, but I was like, listen, you haven't gotten it serviced in 10 years, so just think of this as a little bit of catch up, I'm sorry it's so expensive. It will work after this. And anyway, what if she'd gotten it
Well,
18
it
months?
does help you know your machine when you clean it. It really does.
Yes, so it can save you money to get it serviced and to service it yourself as well, and you'll just be so much happier. So anything else to add about the hook system? I think it's good to say it's related to that lower shaft.
Right.
That's good. I think light sewing machine oil is going to serve so many people very well.
And
But
honestly,
a little bit of research.
And I don't know what do you pay for a bottle of oil these
It's
days?
like $3.
$3 or $4
or
is what I would
something.
say.
Yeah.
And you'll lose it before you use it all,
That's
probably.
right. Oh, you know what? One more thing I just wanted to say. I'm looking at the thread cutter, like the manual thread cutter here on the Destiny, and a lot of machines have those thread cutters. Just brushing those out, even with a little brush every once in a while, can remove fibers.
That's true.
Another
Another thing is, since you're in that specific area, is that your machine has a light. Okay.
Yeah.
Some machines have two lights, and people don't recognize it even. So when you're cleaning, you may not. Now, obviously, it has to be plugged in to notice this. But, the fact that you've looked at your machine and turned it maybe a little, tilted it back, you may notice that it has two light sources. And maybe one is burnt out and you didn't notice because you had the other light source.
And that can change your sewing life.
Wow.
Right?
And you
Woo!
put that, you go purchase that other light, stick it in there, and you're like, whoa, the
Well,
world is, bright again.
A little sidebar here. You can buy for many, many, many machines out there a replacement bulb that's an LED bulb.
Buy an LED. Okay, a regular incandescent bulb might be like $2 or $3, and you might pay like $10, $15 for a LED. You will never replace it. So buy the LED.
They're not even
and
that.
it doesn't get hot. Are they cheaper now?
No, they've gotten so cheap. They're
well,
not
here's
expensive.
the other thing. It doesn't get hot, and I have burnt my hand
Oh, me too.
on sewing machine lights because I've sew for such a long time, and I leave it on, and then I put my hand up there, and it burns.
The Baby Lock Embellisher is one. I know they aren't making it anymore, but that machine would have that incandescent bulb.
Right.
And I just go on it so much. And actually, I'd even burn myself just like
Yes.
moving my hand.
No, not touching it, just getting close.
The-
It will also make you hot.
That's right.
Yeah.
The Jane, the Baby Lock, the previous version that was like the Quilters Pro, and now it's called the Accomplish, so one of the Janes didn't have an LED. And then on the Baby Lock Surgerland,
Right.
it used to be a big difference between the Imagine and the Step Up.
Right, that they had a different lighting
Was
system.
it that one had an LED and one didn't? And this was before these little bulbs were available.
This was before you could go out and buy all of these bulbs that
These
were
little
manufactured
LEDs,
as
yeah.
LEDs, right?
No, I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing to me. I love it so much that we can have those LEDs. So anyway, having, replacing your incandescents with an LED, and I'll post some links to that. All you have to know is your base, your wattage, those kind of things. Anything you would know to get an incandescent bulb, but that's great. So cleaning the outside of the machine could include those thread cutters too. I think that's something I wanted to mention. And, we've got this variable speed control on the front of the machine, and it makes this like cavity in the machine, so just vacuuming that.
Yeah.
And then
It's the nooks and crannies.
if you do have an embroidery machine, cleaning your embroidery
unit.
and your hoops
Yeah.
can make a big difference. And this is it's something we always taught, but then Evie Hawkins, she is an embroidery designer and also just a super knowledgeable stitcher. Like,
She's a smart lady.
she knows what she's doing. I love her so much for that reason. In particular, I love her embroidery designs too, but she also is just super smart. And she recommends alcohol pads to clean those. Clean your embroidery hoops; they're not marring
And
the
I
surface.
will tell you about cleaning embroidery hoops. Don't put it off. Because
Yeah.
that stuff, you've got adhesive on them, and they've gotten cruddy, and oh my gosh, the spray adhesive just gunks up. I would clean it like I clean my bobbin area, like all the time when I think about it. Or
when I love to use spray, and stuff like that. And
Right.
so it would be like after I did a few towels, I just, okay, well, the hoops need to be cleaned,
Right.
and
It's like, oh, I now have a furry embroidery hoop.
if you've got some kind of interested kiddo, like
Yep.
this could be a job for them or something
Yep.
like that, or whatever.
Now, I have used Goo Gone
Uh-huh.
when an embroidery hoop has gone the alcohol. So I use the Goo Gone. Then I wipe it down with the alcohol to make sure I get rid of, because the Goo Gone is
Good.
an oil base.
Oh, and
It's a
then
petro-
I just wanted to mention, like you mentioned before, don't over oil.
right?
And then after you've cleaned your machine, it can be a good idea to thread it up. Thread it up with white thread. Get some white fabric out that you don't care about. And sew.
Not anybody's wedding gown.
That's right. Sew for a little bit.
Yeah, and you may see some oil come out
That's
on
right.
that fabric.
That's right. And that is very normal.
Right.
It's something
So
that can happen.
always do a few stitches after you've oiled something. Always.
But that is one reason when Mom put her why to clean your machine, you don't want, old crap coming down onto your project in the first place. So, well, for those of you who like long episodes, we hope you enjoyed this one.
I'm tired.
I'm tired too. And you know what? We didn't actually clean a machine. We just
Yeah.
talked about it.
So,
So you can follow us on Instagram. We are at SoHereCom. You can get a hold of me at Mallory@SoHere.com. And ZD?
so clean, so long, and so happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.